Alright, sorry about that. We apparently had some technical difficulties there on the first video. It decided to start without me wanting to. I was messing with a file, if you caught that. I do some 3D modeling with the 3D printer. But back to the TA, we will jump back to the daily because I got to the hourly and then realized that the volume was not working. So now it is, so we should be good. We do have this red candle here that does show that the bears are trying to gain control of us. I would watch. This could end up bringing our Dixie lower. Usually when Dixie goes down, crypto goes up. Today we didn't get very much increase, but Dixie did not go down very much either. Our stochastic, our double line, is starting to round away, so as that blue line does continue to pull back, we could end up seeing this make a bearish cross where that blue line is above the orange. And then that could cause that red line, our RSI, to pull back. Our VWAP does have a consistent high. We are in the bullish territory here. Our momentum is trying to push up with a bullish divergence. That's where you get higher lows while your price gets higher highs. So we are trying to run up here. That could be very positive. However, I would just exercise caution because if the Dixie does gain some momentum, we will see the crypto market pull back. Now, our VWAP is starting to curl away. If that VWAP continues to pull back, momentum will reject, and that money flow could end up breaking down. Over on the 4 hour here, we came up near our EMA band, and now we have a long upper shadow. This long upper shadow could show that the bulls tried to push us up, but now they are struggling. Our stochastic is pulling back, RSI is weakening, momentum's pulling back, VWAP is in the bearish territory, and that money flow does want to break down, so I would watch that VWAP close. If that VWAP continues to favor bearish, we will see our blue wave, our momentum, continue to drop down, and as that blue wave and yellow wave continue to favor bearish, that's where our green wave, our money flow, could end up rounding away, flipping into red, and becoming bearish. Remember, anything under 0 for these three, our VWAP, momentum, and money flow, is bearish. Anything above is bullish, meaning we could go up. Bearish means you could go down. Again, those are basic concepts we cover in the Mastering the Trade series, so if you haven't heard of those, I suggest you start from the beginning of the series. RSI does want to pull back here on the 2 hour. Stochastic is trying to run up. We do have our blue above orange, but it does look like we are struggling, so if that stochastic rejects around this 30, we could see RSI continue to drop away. Our VWAP, our yellow wave, does want to break through this neutral and push our momentum forward, but currently it's struggling. So if that VWAP does not break through and then get a higher high with higher lows, it's very likely momentum will continue lower and money flow could end up breaking down. Over on our 1 hour here, you can see we are struggling with our EMA bands. Stochastic is starting to round away. RSI is pulling back. VWAP does want to pull back as well after breaking bullish, so watch this VWAP close. If the VWAP can stay bullish, we will have a chance to retest that 300 EMA and possibly push forward. However, if we see that VWAP start to break down over the next couple candles and then hold bearishly, our momentum will reject, money flow would reject, and then that would potentially give the crypto market some movement forwards. Because remember, we have that inverted relationship. Now over on total, we do have a gap here. Remember, gaps have an 80% chance to fill, so this could end up breaking us forward if we're lucky. We also have an indecision candle. This is where you have a long upper and lower shadow on your candle body. So our stochastic is pulling back here. We do have that blue above our orange above blue. Sorry, looking at that backwards, we have our orange above blue. That does want to pull back. RSI is pulling back. Our VWAP is starting to reject that neutral, so we technically have a lower high with a lower low. If this continues, our momentum will continue to weaken and we could see price action break down. So you want to watch the lower time frames very close here. Over on the 4 hour, we do not have the same gap, but again, with that being on the daily, that is a very strong gap that could end up filling. We are getting a bit of a rounding top after that long upper shadow, and that did bring us lower and confirm this breakdown below our 674. Currently, we have lower highs. If we break for lower lows and break that EMA, our 300 EMA, that black one right here, then it's very likely we could continue lower below that 667.5. Our VWAP does want to pull back, stochastic is rounding away, our RSI is pulling back, momentum is struggling, and the money flow does want to break down. So I would watch that VWAP very close here. If that VWAP does break down, momentum could end up rejecting, and money flow could still break down. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry if you were the person that dipped on me before and the audio wasn't working. Got that figured out now. But our stochastic is starting to round away here. VWAP is in the bearish territory. Our RSI is weakening. Money flow does want to push down, and the momentum is starting to round away. So if we do not gain some strength here, it's very likely we could continue lower. We are struggling with our 300 EMA currently. If we cannot get above that 300 EMA, then it's very likely total would pull back. Over on the 1 hour, we are starting to consolidate here, so this consolidation after a breakdown could create a bear flag. That bear flag could end up pushing us lower. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is pulling back, momentum is in the bearish territory, VWAP is breaking down, and the money flow does want to reject as a result. So if our yellow wave, our VWAP, cannot break through that neutral of the 0, then momentum will continue lower, money flow would then reject that red wave, and then we would see the higher time frame start to weaken as well. So over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we do have a gap up. So just like that gap down on total, the gap down on total, I would exercise caution because this could set dominance to correct down, but that could be good because if total has a gap up and dominance has a gap down and they both fill tomorrow, that likely means Bitcoin could increase like 1%, then total could increase 2%, or we could see Bitcoin go flat and then our altcoins run up. So that could be positive for us. I would watch very close though, because we don't want Bitcoin to weaken too much here. RSI does want to push up, momentum is gaining strength, VWAP is breaking into the bullish territory, causing that momentum to push up with our green dot. If that green dot can continue and our VWAP stays in the bullish territory and we get higher highs with higher lows, that would create a bullish trend. That bullish trend could push momentum higher and then give that money flow further strength to push dominance further up. But I would watch because that would mean that the total gap could end up filling at a later date. If we do see our dominance go up and total go up, then it's very likely Bitcoin would go up 2% where total would go up 1%. Now over on the 4 hour, we are trying to push up. I would watch this candle very close because it is teetering on becoming a long upper shadow that could end up pulling us back. Stochastic does want to round, momentum's rounding, RSI is going flat, that VWAP or yellow wave is pulling back, pushing toward that neutral. So if that yellow wave does break that neutral, momentum will round away and our money flow could end up pulling back, staying in that bearish territory. Over on the 2 hour, we are trying to get a long upper or a long lower shadow that does want to push us up after that long upper shadow. So we have a little indecision going on here on the 2 hour. We want to go down, then we want to go up, so we're not really sure where we want to go. Our stochastic does want to pull back, momentum is rounding away, RSI is flat, VWAP is breaking into the bearish territory, so if that VWAP gets a lower low, we could see lower lows with this lower high that would cause momentum to pull back, that blue wave, and then our money flow would pull back as well, the red wave. I would then give the higher time frame strength to weaken, so I would watch out and give us that bearish strength. Over on the 1 hour here on the dominance, we do have bearish divergence on momentum. Stochastic is pulling back, RSI is pulling back. That VWAP does want to break that neutral. We have very weak highs with consistent lows. So while we don't have a bearish trend with those lower lows and lower highs, we do have bearish favor. That could still end up breaking us lower if we're not careful. Over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we are struggling with this support level. We did break above the 69K, and now we are pulling back below it. We want to stay above our point of control, our value area low, getting everything mixed up. We want to stay above our point of control, this blue line. Otherwise, we could end up making a push down toward the value area low. Momentum is pulling back. Stochastic's pulling back, that double line. As that stochastic pulls back, our momentum, the blue wave, will continue to weaken, and that could cause money flow to sell off as well. VWAP is currently in the bearish territory, trying to cross forward. So if that VWAP can gain some strength, we would see futures make a bounce here. But right now, we do have a little bit of a symmetrical triangle that could be going on. And that symmetrical triangle is a 50-50 pattern that could either break you up or down. So I would exercise caution, but it could also be a bull pendant as it came from a break up. So our break up possibility would be 76.3. However, we also have a breakdown possibility. You take half of your triangle and then you apply that down to push to our 65.5. So I would exercise caution and watch those lower time frames. So over to the 4 hour, we did push above this channel. You could kind of stretch this out, change where this top is, get that a little better connected. I'd push you up a little higher on your breakup point, depending on where these points connect now. So we could do a little bit of refiguring that out. And that could push us possibly a little bit higher, not very much. Right around that 76,840. So about 500 more, not very much. Stochastic does want to pull back. We do have our orange above blue. So if that orange line stays above our blue line on the stochastic, our red line, our RSI, will continue lower. Momentum could continue to round that blue wave, and then that VWAP will break that neutral. I would watch that VWAP very close. We did try to get bullish favor after having a bearish trend. So if we break back into the bearish territory, momentum could reject and that money flow could fall flat, finally breaking through and pushing more bearish. Over on the 2 hour here, and if we do get bearish, that could end up breaking us down. Over on the 2 hour, we did fill our gap here around that 70K, and now we are rejecting. So I would watch, we do have a gap below us. So that gap below us could end up breaking us down. Then we would want to bounce and push forward to see that 76K break up point. Our stochastic is pulling back. RSI is weakening due to that double line pushing down and the orange being above blue. Momentum is rounding with a red dot as VWAP pulls back. And our money flow, the red wave, does want to pull back as our VWAP, our yellow wave, is pulling back and weakening the blue wave, our momentum. Over on the 1 hour, we are starting to drop down. We do have a couple gaps above us, so even if we do pull back and hit this gap below us, that could end up giving us a support level, or a resistance area above us rather, that we could end up snapping back to. Our stochastic does want to drop down. RSI is weakening. Momentum is rounding away. We do have a double red dot. That VWAP is breaking for a consistent low, so watch for lower highs. If we get lower highs here, we could see the hourly breakdown. I would watch right around that support area. If we do not hold that support area, it's likely we could break our 300 EMA and then give the trend to the bears. So real quick, gonna take a sip. If there's anything you'd like to see, drop in the chat, drop in the comments if you're watching the after recorded video. But our stochastic is weakening. We have our orange above our blue. We are selling off. That is causing RSI to drop. Momentum does want to round away. VWAP is starting to favor bearish with lower lows and lower highs. And that money flow does want to pull back. So I would exercise caution, especially with that gap on futures. Over on the 4 hour, stochastic is starting to round away. VWAP wants to pull back. Money flow is breaking into the bearish territory. Momentum does want to push up. But if that VWAP does break down, we would see momentum reject. Right now, the VWAP does look positive. We have higher highs with higher lows. So we want that to maintain in this bullish territory. Otherwise, if that yellow wave does end up pulling back, our momentum, our blue wave, could reject neutral. And we could see that money flow deepen in the bearish territory and weaken price action. We do have a reversal arrow after getting a little bit of a run up. So I would just exercise caution. Over on the 2 hour, if we zoom in here, we are pulling back a little bit here. We do want to hit these EMAs, so our EMA bands are getting very close together. I would watch, we need to maintain above them if we're going to see them start to spread away. Our stochastic is starting to round away. We do have our orange above blue. Momentum is rounding with a red dot. VWAP does want to break down, and the money flow is starting to curl out. So I would watch that VWAP close. If that VWAP creates a bearish trend, we could see momentum weaken, and money flow could end up breaking down. Over on the 1 hour here, we are trying to push forward off this EMA band. So if we can continue forward, that would be very positive. What we want to see here is that VWAP break up. Hopefully you were in our Discord and you watched when we called that we could end up breaking away. Our stochastic is dropping down, RSI is pulling back, momentum is weakening, and that VWAP is favoring bearish, causing our money flow to favor bearish as well. So overall, I would exercise caution. We could end up rejecting this green EMA, pushing down to the 300 EMA, and if we break that 300 EMA again, it's very likely we would push down toward our support area of our 63,120 down there. So over on graph for the daily, we are continuing to sell off with this channel. I would just exercise caution. The rest of the market does look like it could try to gain some steam. If Bitcoin futures does end up snapping forward, we could end up pushing forward with graph as well. Momentum does want to push down. Stochastic is starting to weaken. RSI is pulling back. Our VWAP is in the bearish territory, and the money flow is starting to favor more bearish as well. So I would watch that VWAP very close. If that VWAP continues to weaken, it's likely we could continue to break down. We did get about a third of our breakdown though, and the rest of the market does look a little bit bullish, so just exercise caution, don't get too greedy. Remember, pigs get slaughtered. Over on the 4 hour, we do have this 300 EMA. We need to break above this 300 EMA and hold in a bullish trend, otherwise we could continue to stair step down. Right now, this does look like a bit of a descending channel, just below our ascending channel. So a descending channel does want to push us up. That could end up pushing us above that support level, right around that 31,954. RSI is pulling back, stochastic is starting to round. VWAP wants to pull back with a lower high. So if we get consistent lows, momentum will have bearish favor. Money flow could continue to break down, and we would see price action slip as a result. Over on this 2 hour, we did break our EMA, and we are holding below it. Thanks for joining us. Our stochastic is starting to pull back. RSI is pulling back. VWAP is breaking into the bearish territory. Momentum is pushing down, and the money flow is rejecting. So overall, we do have a bit of bearish favor here. If that bearish favor does continue, we could end up breaking down. I would just watch very close. Over on this 1 hour, stochastic is dropping away. RSI is pulling back. VWAP is in the bearish territory, that yellow wave. So as that yellow wave favors bearish, our momentum will continue to weaken. If that momentum continues to weaken, money flow will continue to pull back, and we could end up rejecting lower. We do have a slight gap here above us, so if we do pull back, that would give us that chance to snap back up, fill that gap, and possibly run up, getting about half of our move, and then potentially pushing forward from there. Over on Ankr for the daily, we have a double manipulation X that we did warn you about the other day. It did push us down toward our 42.89 like we warned about. So hopefully you were prepared for that drop. Stochastic does want to pull back. We do have our orange above blue. VWAP is breaking down. Momentum's pushing down. Money flow is favoring bearish. So overall, the daily doesn't look very positive. Over on the 4 hour here, our double line, our stochastic does have our orange above blue. Our blue above orange, sorry. Our stochastic has our blue above orange. So that is bullish, but it's starting to round away. So I would exercise caution. RSI is pulling back. VWAP does want to round away, but we have a higher high. If we can solidify a higher low, then we could see a bullish trend that would then push momentum higher, giving that money flow the strength to bounce off this neutral and go from being red back into the green. It would then give us the potential to strengthen the daily and push forward. So over on the 2 hour here, we are in a bit of a descending channel. This could end up breaking us forward, just like graph. Remember, descending channel is a bullish pattern. These bottoms really don't connect very well, though, so I wouldn't really trade on it. But stochastic is pulling back. We do have that orange above blue. Thanks for joining us. RSI is pulling back. Let me know if you have any issues in the chat or if you want to see anything else. VWAP is breaking into the bearish territory. That is that yellow wave. So as that yellow wave favors bearish, our momentum could continue to pull back. That would then give us the strength to continue lower, possibly breaking that 42.89 and pushing to the 40.49 we've been warning to watch for if we hold below the 42.89. So over on the 1 hour, our stochastic has that blue line below our orange line. Our RSI, our red line, is weakening as a result, which is bringing our price action lower. If our stochastic continues to weaken, RSI will continue lower, and price action could end up breaking that support of that 42.89. That VWAP is currently in the bearish territory, our yellow wave. As that yellow wave favors bearish momentum, our blue wave will continue to weaken, and if that momentum does end up breaking through this neutral and holding with our VWAP, then that money flow will continue to weaken. That would then start to weaken those higher time frames, as this 1 hour hasn't been bearish for quite some time. Remember, it takes more time to affect higher time frames, but the lower time frames do affect them. So over on XRP for the daily, we did end up breaking away from this bear flag possibility on that lower flag, so we will delete this just to make it a little cleaner to see. If we do not hold this value area low on our fixed range volume profile, then it's very likely we could slip down toward our 49, and then if we can't hold that 49, that's where we could get our break to that 44.2. Momentum, our blue wave, is pulling back, our stochastic is starting to sell off, RSI is weakening, that VWAP is starting to favor more bearish, so as that VWAP continues to drop, momentum will continue to weaken, and that money flow could continue out. That would then give the bears the strength they would need to break us lower. So over on the 4 hour, I would watch the lower time frames. Remember, they do drive what the daily will do. Over on the 4 hour, we did reject that 300 EMA, and we just snapped away from our entire band. If we cannot reclaim this EMA band at all, then we could end up breaking down, giving the bears more control, and seeing this EMA band spread apart. If that's the case, then it will be very tough to end up breaking forward and filling areas like our 57 or 60 resistances. Stochastic does want to round away, but remember, if altcoins run up, it's very likely XRP will too, and altcoins do look like they do have the potential to run up with Bitcoin. But that VWAP does want to pull back, momentum does want to push up, we do have that red dot, so I would watch that VWAP. If that VWAP rejects here, and we see continued bearish favor, with these waves favoring more toward the bearish territory under that zero, rather than favoring above the zero, we will see momentum continue to weaken, and money flow could continue to weaken as well, giving us a rejection of the EMA band. Now over on the 2 hour, you can see where we rejected our 300 EMA, and we did kind of push down. Both times we've rejected, we just kind of snapped down. I would exercise caution on that. Our stochastic is starting to round away. We do have that orange above blue, so that's that bearish cross. RSI is dropping due to that stochastic dropping. VWAP is in the bearish territory. Momentum is starting to push down, and we do have that red dot due to our VWAP pulling back, which is weakening our money flow. If that VWAP cannot gain a higher low with a consistent high, then we could see momentum continue to weaken and bring that money flow lower still. It's kind of going to be on this 1 hour, because if this 1 hour remains more in the bearish territory, we did break bullish, then we rejected. So if we remain more in the bearish territory here on the 1 hour, it's very likely we will see the higher time frames start to get that cascading effect and drop away. Our stochastic is pushing down, RSI is weakening, that VWAP is in the bearish territory, momentum is dropping down, and the money flow is pushing out. So overall, I would exercise caution if that VWAP rejects here, giving us a lower high. That could create a bearish trend with lower highs and lower lows, which will cause momentum to pull back, and money flow will pull back as well. That will then weaken the 1, 2, and 4 hour. 2 hour is bearish, 4 hour is bearish. So if that 1 hour does solidify bearish momentum, we will see that 1, 2, and 4 hour confirmation that we talk about, and that could end up snapping us down out of nowhere. So I would exercise caution on that, but again, that doesn't have to happen if altcoins run up. So over on ALGO here, we did reject that 300 EMA, so that's not very good for ALGO. That could end up pulling us back. Excuse me while I take another drink. My throat's a little sore today. Stochastic is pulling back. We do have our orange above blue, so we do have that bearish cross. Our RSI is pulling back. Our momentum starting to round away as that VWAP pushes bearish. If that VWAP continues to favor bearish here, our money flow will continue to weaken, and then we could see the bears push us down to the 1618 like we've been warning about. And if we cannot hold that 1618, we do have that support around that 1412. So over on the 4 hour, we do have a manipulation X that is starting to bring us down. we do have a pair of them as well. Remember, when they're in pairs, they do tend to bring you lower. RSI does want to round away. Stochastic is starting to round away as well. VWAP is starting to break toward that neutral, so if it breaks for a bearish trend, we could see momentum reject and money flow would break bearish. That would then weaken that daily. But if our VWAP can make a bounce, we would have a higher high with these higher lows that could continue bullish trends. Then that would push momentum higher and potentially give the money flow the strength it needs to bounce forward. I would watch more on the 1 and 2 hour, just like the rest of the market right now. Over on the 2 hour, stochastic is starting to run away. We have that same bearish cross as we have on the 4. RSI is pulling back. Momentum's rounding away. VWAP does want to break bearish after getting favored to the bullish side, but that favor to the bullish side did not last very long, and we did end up breaking back bearish. If that VWAP continues to favor bearish and we get lower lows with lower highs here, momentum will push down and money flow could break into the bearish territory and start to weaken those higher time frames. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is starting to drop away. We do have that orange above blue. RSI is pulling back. VWAP is starting to break down, causing momentum to push down. If that VWAP maintains in the bearish territory here, momentum could break down, and that money flow could break down as well, and then we could get that same 1, 2, and 4 hour confirmation. So again, I would exercise caution on that. Thank you for watching tonight's video. Appreciate every one of you. Have a great night.